So how do you play the changes? What does it mean to play the changes, and how do you do that? When you say playing the changes, what you're referring to is playing the chord changes. And when you say you're playing the chord changes, that probably means that you want to play the right notes when the chords are changing. This is not something that you would think of if it's a very simple song or a modal song that's just one chord for a long period of time. This is definitely more of a jazz sort of concept, but can certainly be applied to other styles of music. So to give you an idea for what you need to know and how this all works, I'm going to take two chords and let's make it a common progression. So I'll do an E minor 7 chord to an A7 chord. Okay. So things, or I guess preliminary things you should probably know. You should probably know how to play an arpeggio for either one of these. So at least in one position. So if you have this first one, E minor 7, I'll play it in 4th position here. And then same thing with A7, play in 5th position. So the first thing you want to know are the arpeggios that go along with these. So in this case, if it's a 7 chord, there are 4 notes. So root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 5th, 7th, root. And then for the A7, same thing. There are 4 notes, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and then it repeats. That's the first thing you want to get very comfortable with so that you barely have to think about it at all. Let's do this in stages. So the first stage, you're just going to want to work on playing one arpeggio to the other. So just make it easy. Just start on root position, or make it easy. Start from the root. So you'll play the E minor 7 chord, play the arpeggio. Play the A7 chord, play the arpeggio. And then just do that until you're getting comfortable, until it's becoming easy. Next step is to figure out how fast the harmonic rhythm is. In other words, how many beats do we need how many beats is this E minor 7 happening for? Is it 2, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4? Is it 4 beats? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, or 2 measures, or and so on. So for example, I'm going to think that these chords are changing every 4 beats. So now it doesn't matter where you start from. I'm still going to start on the root for now, but you can start anywhere. And you're going to think, I'm going to play 8th note rhythms. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then I'm going to switch to the next chord seamlessly, going in the same direction that I was just playing. So for example, it starts on E minor, so I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then now I'm on A7. If I want to keep descending, the very next note in A7, I could either stay here, but I don't really like that ever when I'm improvising, so I would just keep going. I'm going to play that note instead. Okay, so one more time. That was 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and now I'm on A. 1, and now I'm going to going to keep going down. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and if I want to keep going in the same direction, the very next note would be, actually, the very next note would be D, because that's the 7th in E minor. So now I've switched back to E minor, but I'm starting on the 7th. So I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and now I'm on A7. If I keep going up, I could go up to the 3rd, but I'm going to go down to the root and descend. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so let me show you what that sounds like when I do it in time. Okay, so I went out of position a few times. I played a note down here on the E minor 7, and I played a C sharp on the A7, and that was just because I didn't want to. I think I was getting stuck in a pattern. I was gonna keep changing chords on the same part. So that's why I did that. And as that gets easier, of course, you can just up the tempo. And that is a great way to kind of lay the foundation for playing the changes. At this point, you can start to be sort of creative with it immediately, right? So you can improvise just playing chord tones. And actually, I recommend you do that. You should always, I think as you're learning something new, you should always take a little time to play with it a little bit and get used to the concept and be creative with it. So without a backing track, I'm just going to play a little bit, thinking those two chords back and forth. But now I'm going to be improvising with the notes of the chords. So I'm just going to improvise using the arpeggios. So even with just those notes, you can be creative with it rhythmically. So now using that foundation of the arpeggios, you can start to do some, you can start to kind of mess around with it, and this will take us into more of a stylistic area, I guess you could say. So a lot of these concepts are very much jazz and bebop related. But so for example, you know, if you take that E minor arpeggio, one of the first things you could start to mess around with is chromaticism, meaning moving in one fret at a time in half steps. So if I can, in other words, so the easiest way to think of this is if I can play this note, so I'm thinking E minor, if I can play that and I can play that, then I should be able to play every note in between. Okay? And the reason why this doesn't really bother us is that as long as we are starting on the note as long as we're starting on a consonant note, we're ending on a consonant note. It doesn't always have to be that way, but a lot of the time we're going to accept it as listeners. So maybe I'll improvise a little more, and rather than only sticking to the arpeggio notes, I'll start to include some chromaticism. But just kind of keep in mind that I'm still focusing the same notes. And when the chords change, I'm trying to still focus on getting to the right note of the new chord. So here's that. One, again, I'll do it unaccompanied. So 1, 2, here I go. When you play this way, you don't need to hear the chords behind you. It's implied by what you're playing, because you're targeting the notes of the chords at a certain time. So for example, so I'm going to improvise one more time. Now I'm just kind of taking this concept out a little more, and see if you can just kind of hear the chord changes for what I'm doing. So I'll play this one in more of a swingy type of feel. So just then I was playing a song called Tune Up, and if you're familiar with the song, you probably heard it. I played E minor, A7, D major 7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7, C minor 7, F, B flat. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea for what it means to be playing the changes and how you might go about working on it.